Massage therapy is a really amazing profession, but there are some very common overuse injuries that we are prone to, including wrist pain from the work that we do with our hands, shoulder and neck pain from all the force that we have to provide, and even low back pain and plantar fasciitis are very common. So let's talk about some strategies so that you won't get overuse injuries and keep your body feeling a lot healthier and able to do this work for years to come. Clients will often ask me, how do you do this all day? And the truth is, I've been doing this for 17 years, as many as 6 to 7 hours of table work, 3 to 4 times a week for my entire career. And I feel fine at the end of the day. And how am I able to do that? Well, let me give you all of my favorite self-care tips so that you too can actually continue to do massage work and not feel like you're beat up all the time. All right, so one of the first things that we're going to talk about conceptually is the idea that you want to have a really wide toolbox to use. If you have just one way of getting into a muscle that you're comfortable with, when that tool gets tired, you're not going to be able to switch to one that isn't, right? And so, for instance, let's say that I'm working on the quad, which is a big, thick muscle. And I was taught in school to use effleurage and my hands and fingers, and so I will do that. But if my hands and fingers get tired, and they will, even if it's not the first massage you give, by the third massage you give, it might be tired. Right, if I'm doing deep work in here and I'm using my fingers a lot, or I'm trying to squeeze the muscle a lot, my fingers are gonna get super tired, or my thumbs. So I wanna be able to do this exact myofascial stroke here with thumbs. If my thumbs get tired, I wanna be able to use 3 fingers. If 3 fingers get tired, I wanna be able to use palm. My palm gets tired, I want to be able to use soft fist. And if soft fist gets tired, I want to be able to use elbow forearm. And I want to be comfortable with any and all of those tools such that I can switch between them anytime I want and still provide good deep pressure and good work for the client, where they're not feeling like their session is sacrificed, but that I'm actually paying attention to what my body feels like and able to take care of myself at the same time. And so that's tip number 1, have a wide toolbox and be willing to switch tools often throughout individual massages, throughout your shifts, throughout your weeks. Now, tip number 2 is that you need to be able to be aware of how your own body feels in order to make those tool switches throughout a session and actually pay attention. If all I'm doing is focusing in right here and worrying about, can I get the quad to open, and I'm not using good body mechanics and I'm overusing my fingers, I'm not able to be aware of how I'm feeling and I'm overly invested. So what you need to be able to do is make contact with a tool, be aware of what's going on here with their tissue, but also then feel all of this stuff and be able to be completely aware of my own body as well, so that I'm paying attention to my body mechanics. I'm paying attention to how do my thumbs feel. Right now, this is easy for me, but after 3 or 4 hours of this, I might want to switch, or even after 3 or 4 minutes, I might want to switch to a different tool. As this tool gets tired in a session, maybe I switch to this tool, but the only way I'm going to know that I need to switch is if I'm splitting my awareness between what I'm doing on the client and how I'm feeling in my own body. Tip number 3, a lot of therapists really like to work barefoot because they get the feeling of the floor under their feet. It's good for proprioception. It can even be good for body mechanics, but if you're just standing on your feet all day long, especially if you're on concrete or tile flooring or even hardwood, but something that doesn't have a lot of give to it, You're gonna be asking for low back pain and potentially plantar fasciitis if you do this day in and day out for weeks to months on end. A lot of new therapists I hire, one of their first complaints about 2 to 3 months into their careers, oh, my back is starting to hurt, what's going on there? And I'll ask them, are you working barefoot? And they'll be like, yeah, I really love working barefoot. And I'm like, you gotta maybe switch that up and wear shoes, right? Because that will save your feet and it will save your back. Now, one of the tips I would say though is that if you have a shoe, and I'm not actually wearing shoes for this today, which is stupid, but whatever. If you have a shoe that is easy to slip on and off, you can adjust your height and you can give yourself breaks in and out of the shoe. And so if you take off your shoes and you're not wearing socks, so let me take those off too. I've just taken about a ½ inch out of my height. And so let's say that I'm working on a client that is either smaller or I'm working on bigger clients. By lowering my own height, I can keep the table height a little bit lower and provide more gravity and change the height of what I'm working on. So I really recommend having a shoe you can slip on and off throughout the session so that you can vary your height a little bit. You can give your feet a break from the shoes, but you're also able to put them on quickly and easily so that you're not just working barefoot the whole time, because that really will cause problems down the line. Last but not least is to have a set of your own self-care practices that you do religiously at the end of every shift and the beginnings of your shifts. A few that I really make sure that I have is I have water available to me. I have easy to access calories like a protein bar or a protein shake so that I can keep myself energized throughout a shift without having to eat a big heavy meal. Another one would be, if I'm doing something like this and I'm starting to feel my shoulder, I might stretch my low back and work on my hips and back while I'm doing this. And as long as I don't feel like I'm sacrificing what she's feeling, I can get a little bit of my own self-care. Let's say I'm tractioning her leg as a finisher. I can just traction her leg and tighten my own arms and shoulders and make it really hard for me. Or I can really traction her and really also traction my own arms throughout. And so having these little ways of stretching your own body in the middle of a shift is really helpful as well. And a couple of last little tips that I use pretty religiously. One, in between sessions and at the end, I tend to douse my forearms and my hands running under cold water. If you have a sink available to you, that's really easy to do, and it's just a nice way to tone down any inflammation in your muscles from doing the work all day. The other one that I have to do religiously is about 10 to 15 minutes of yin yoga, very relaxed and easy stretching at the end of the night to sleep well. So those are some of my tips, but I'd love to hear in the comments below if you've got your own go-to self-care tips. Let's try to make a whole list for everybody watching this so that we can all pool our tips together. All right, we hope you enjoyed this video. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel for future updates, and we think you're gonna like this video too.